What's up? I've had a pretty regular day by far. It wasn't much special, but I came across an idea the other day which I really wanted to talk about. It was an alternate. You already know what the title, but it's just a different perspective that came about and changed the way that I thought of it, and completely shattered my perspective on it from the start. And I really want to talk about it, so I figured it might not be a bad idea to make a video on it. So, talking about the beef ban, contrary to popular belief, beef was not introduced in India as a food until the Britishers. Most people thought it was the Mughals, but it was actually the Britishers. And back then, the Britishers, of course, were too uptight to slaughter their own meat. So they poached upon the minority of the Muslim butchers to get their meat done for them. And slowly it grew as a meat substance. Again, contrary to popular belief, India is not primarily a vegetarian country. Apparently over 70% of Indians over the age of 15 are non-vegetarian. Again, not all of them consume beef as a staple food, but when the whole beef ban came about, it created a large amount of controversy. It's existed in the constitution as a directive policy. Basically, in India, states don't have to follow the exact same laws that the central government does, for a very simple reason: because there's so much diversity in the nation. Various states have various ethnicities and different castes and communities within each. So it makes no sense for every single state to follow the exact same policies. Of course, there are a stable number of policies that all of them have to follow as basic practice. There is a lot of policies which change according to state. Same way under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act and whatever, to prevent slaughter of cattle considering its traditional and worship status in the country is part of the directive policy. 24 out of 29 states in the country follow it. But when the whole beef ban came into effect, I think about 2 years ago, it created a nationwide controversy among people about living in a secular democratic nation and having laws like this control a person's life and affect what a person consumes. Of course, for us, it's just a switch from eating a beef burger to a chicken burger, but what we also fail to realize is that there's millions and millions of jobs at stake. So basically, a large part of the nation thrives off of agriculture, off of dairy. A lot of farmers depend upon cows and buffaloes. Cows live usually about 20 to 25 years, and cows start becoming extremely productive for farmers between the ages of 5 and 11. This is their milking period, the period of their life where they produce milk after they give birth to their first calf. After this time, cows just become progressively unproductive and a burden and a liability to farmers. Farmers, as it is, are not very well off, and to provide food and shelter for them for another 10 to 15 years becomes a huge burden for them. So naturally, after the age of 11 or 12, they sell them off in the market to poachers and butchers who purchase unproductive cows to slaughter them and sell the meat. Now, cow meat overall is prohibited from being exported from the country. Buffalo meat, on the other hand, isn't. Surprisingly enough, buffalo meat is technically not called beef. Of course, very often people will refer to it as beef, especially after the beef ban. A lot of places started serving buffalo meat instead of cow meat and refer to it as beef, but apparently it's called buff or buck, whatever. Point is that India in 2012 was 5th in rank in export of beef, and 2012 to 2016, India is currently, very surprisingly, the largest exporter of beef in the world. Apparently, the country produces 3.6 million metric tons of beef, out of which 1.6 million metric tons are exported. I find all of this extremely surprising considering the traditional god-like status of the cow in our country. Of course, it's extremely surprising, but my only point, I had this revelation a couple of days ago which just entirely changed my perspective on it. Being a vegetarian, none of these laws affect my life directly in any manner, but of course, when it came up as controversy over dinner table conversation, I had to contribute. And for me, my opinion was always strongly against it. I always believe in allowing people to do as they please. But then the other day I was just thinking about it, and even though we're a democratic nation, we are primarily Hindu, in which case majority of the nation is of the Hindutva caste, and most people in the Hindu community consider the cow way too sacred to slaughter or consume as meat. In which case, I just had a very random thought. I don't know if it makes sense or not, or whether it's valid in this scenario, but I realized that most democratic countries run off of majority decisions, in the sense, for example, the BJP and the Congress both standing for elections, and the majority votes for the BJP to be elected to govern the country. It is never questioned that what about the minority that wants Congress to govern them, right? So I was just wondering that why doesn't the same rule apply here? If a majority of the nation says that the cow should be sacred and not slaughtered, why is it so much of a violation of the minority's right? Why is it never in question the community that wants to get governed by the Congress should be governed by the Congress, and the community that wants to be governed by the BJP should be governed by the BJP? How come majority decisions don't come into play when we're talking about things like this? I understand they affect personal lives in a lot more direct manner, but it was just a very brief thought which changed my perspective on the whole matter, to a point where I'm not really sure of my opinion on the idea. I don't know whether the beef ban is or can be stated as correct or not. Of course, it's going to have its pros and cons either way. But this was just a thought on whether it's right to question a majority decision. This was just a thought. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. I want to know what your opinion is on the subject. Let me know if I'm completely off base here, but it was just something that certainly changed my opinion, what I thought of the whole idea and the law and the construct in itself. Basically what I wanted to talk about. But let me know what you thought of the whole controversy, what you thought of the ban, what you think of the situation, and let me know what you think of my opinion on it at this point in time, and whether it's heading in the right direction or not. But that's about it for today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, there's cooler stuff coming tomorrow. Good night.